What's the craziest self-destruction you've ever witnessed? My best friend decided to become the wellness guru of our high school, and it nearly gassed half our lunch table to death. This started when Jake saw some fitness influencer on TikTok and suddenly decided he needed to optimize his body for peak performance. This is the same guy who once ate nothing but energy drinks and Hot Pockets for a week because he thought it was efficient nutrition. But after one YouTube video about gut health, Jake became obsessed with clean eating. He started bringing these lunch containers filled with things that looked like bird food and smelled like a compost bin. For a week straight, he only ate steamed broccoli, plain quinoa, and something called activated almonds that he soaked in water overnight. He'd sit at our lunch table explaining his meal choices while the rest of us ate normal food. "You guys are poisoning your bodies," he'd say, chewing his sad quinoa. "I'm going to feel amazing once my system detoxes." Then Jake discovered kombucha. He started bringing these giant bottles of fermented tea to school, drinking like a liter per day. The problem was, Jake had never researched what kombucha does to your digestive system when you chug it like Gatorade. The first disaster came during AP history. Jake raised his hand and asked to use the bathroom. 5 minutes later, we heard what sounded like a small explosion coming from the men's room, followed by someone frantically running the faucet. Jake came back looking like he'd seen a ghost, but insisted he was just detoxing really effectively. But the real disaster came on a Wednesday. Jake brought his usual superfood horror plus homemade raw energy balls that looked like dirt clouds and smelled like gym socks. Halfway through explaining raw food enzymes, Jake's face went white, not pale, completely white, like he'd seen his own future. "I need to go," he whispered, standing up so fast he knocked over his chair. What followed was the most epic bathroom emergency in school history. The sounds coming from the men's room were so disturbing that our biology teacher actually used it as an impromptu lesson about digestive distress. We could hear Jake in there for 20 minutes. At one point, someone called the janitor because they thought a pipe had burst. When he finally emerged, Jake looked like he'd been through war. But instead of learning his lesson, he doubled down. "This is just my body releasing toxins," he explained to our horrified lunch table. "It means it's working." The next day, Jake brought a whole avocado and ate it like an apple, skin and all, because he'd read that avocado skin contained essential fiber. "Jake," I said, watching him struggle through the bitter green skin, "this is insane." "You don't understand," he replied, grimacing. "I'm achieving optimal nutrition." That afternoon, Jake spent chemistry class making sounds like a deflating balloon. Every few minutes, he'd shift in his seat and release what can only be described as biological warfare. People started changing seats. The teacher opened windows. Someone sprayed FRAZ. "Sorry," Jake would whisper after each incident, still detoxing. The final straw came when Jake tried a master cleanse, drinking nothing but lemon water, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup for 3 days. By day 2, he was so weak he couldn't carry his backpack and was producing gas that violated the Geneva Convention. During lunch, Jake let out a fart so long and complex it had multiple movements. I'm talking crescendo, key changes, and a finale that set off the smoke detector. The entire cafeteria evacuated. Jake's mom found him passed out in the kitchen that evening, surrounded by empty lemon bottles and the lingering smell of digestive disaster. She immediately drove him to the hospital, where a very concerned doctor explained that teenagers need actual food to function.